It does feel a lot different than Discovery. For me, part of that was the writing of the script. That obviously, these Star Treks, there's always something that's going to destroy the planet or destroy the universe or destroy something. They got to save the day. But I felt like this was done with a serious undertone, but a lighthearted banter with the characters.
But with Discovery, makeup wise, there was no comparison really for me because it's like they're Starfleet. It's almost like a space military. It's kind of natural, it's not about the makeup. And then when you have other characters that come in, again, you're locked into pre-existing looks that have been established in the other Star Trek. When we came to Section, it's like we've never tapped into this before. They trusted Ryan enough and I to play and to push the envelope and the boundaries. And I feel we accomplished that.
Hi, I'm Jamie Hitchings of Filmmaker U. At Filmmaker U, we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify their skill set. You can learn more on filmmakeru.com. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on our YouTube channel. Every week, we interview film professionals, and this week we are joined by Shauna Llewellyn and Ryan Reed, whose work includes Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Section 31, which we'll be talking about today, and they both worked on The Big Cigar. Star Trek 31, 2025, follows Emperor Philippa Georgiou, who's played by Michelle Yeoh, as she is recruited into Starfleet's elusive Section 31. The film explores Georgiou's complex character, blending her dark past from the Terran Empire with the current role, while also touching on the ethical dilemmas surrounding Starfleet and the Federation. It debuted on Paramount Plus on January 24th, 2025. And thank you for joining us, Shauna and Ryan.
Thanks for having us.
What was your inspiration for the hair and makeup designs for this film, especially for Emperor Georgiou?
For me, a lot of the inspiration came from the costume department. There were some sketches drawn up, and I did take a lot of inspiration from that. Ultimately, we landed on our own idea, which was a big collab with Michelle Yeoh as well. And also to just make her look different from like the last show that she had just finished working on, which was Wicked. So we wanted to really lean into something that would be a little bit different, because both of the hairstyles that she just had was an updo, and then this one was also an updo. However, we used a lot of color that played off of her costume. So there was a lot of purples, blues, different shades of blues, turquoises. And I know it's sometimes a little bit hard to see because some of the scenes were a little bit darker, but the colors were there. And it really I felt like wasn't overshadowing, but complementing everything.
But I said that was my goal as well, to kind of, after the costume and hair, because that was kind of the order of it. We saw the costume, and then Ryan came up with the design of the hair, and then that helped me tie in the makeup. And I went with complementary colors so that it wasn't monochromatic, but something that would complement. So we did custom lashes that had a bit of the green in it to kind of complement the purples and stuff that were going on as well. And to Ryan's point, make her look completely different, not just in Wicked, but in anything else she's done before. And we weren't locked in and to any pre-existing look. So we really got to play. For her mission look, we kind of established that on Discovery. So we elevated that a little bit because there was a loose reference, but nothing, again, we were locked into. So we really got to push the envelope with that as well.
I sort of got into VFX by accident. I always had a technical interest in photography, and especially as it relates to movie making. There's something magical about the ability to believe something is happening when it isn't. So I went as a live action producer into a company called Bob Abel and Associates. Then I would have to, have a meeting about how do we do this effect that's in this commercial, and I never got the straight answer I was looking for. I have camera knowledge, so it's like, since it's kind of ambiguous, why don't I just grab a camera and we'll try it out. You have to figure out what tells the story and use every trick in the book to solve your problem. I am Rob Legato, and this is my course on visual effects.
Were you also in charge of the contacts? Because she was wearing contacts, wasn't she?
Yes, so she had a lens tech that was completely Michelle's idea. Like once she saw what we were doing, she thought that would be a great addition, and we fully supported it. So I didn't apply the contacts; a lens technician came in, but we all helped decide on what colors would work, and they had an option of a couple. And once we saw the full design look, hair, makeup, and costume, we decided on the ones that she ended up wearing.
She sounds like she's a fun collaborator, like she really wants to be into the process. Was that like really rewarding to work with her?
It is, and she's amazing, and she comes with her own ideas. And the good thing is, in a way, she pushes you so that you elevate. You don't even realize it's happening, but you just have to be up for the challenge with her. And she's absolutely lovely. So it's a lot of collaboration and conversations, and her bringing ideas and then trying them and seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like collabing with a family member, as opposed to something scary. It's a fun approach.
Let me ask you how you balance the darker tone of Section 31 with kind of the established aesthetic of Star Trek, because you both worked on Discovery, which does get quite a bit darker, but Section 31 feels a lot different.
That's true.
Discover
It does feel a lot different than Discovery. Um, I think for me, part of that was the writing of the script. Um, Felt that obviously all these Star Treks, there's always something that's going to destroy the planet or destroy the universe or destroy something. They got to save the day. Um, but I felt like this was done with a serious undertone, but a light-hearted banter with the characters. So I think we tried to play off of that. Obviously, um, you know, when Starfleet is Starfleet. So like our Starfleet officer, um, I can't remember the last name. What's her name? Rachel. She was it Rachel? Oh my God, what am I?
Rachel Garrett.
Rachel Gary. There we go. I was like, wait, I know this name. Yeah, like she was closer to our kind of conservative Starfleet look, but a lot of the other ones we kind of had an open, kind of like just open to play with all sorts of things that we haven't done before.
And even with Rachel, when they're disguised, we got to play. But with Discovery, makeup wise, there was no comparison really for me, because it's like they're Starfleet. It's almost like a space military. It's kind of natural. It's not about the makeup, really. And then when you have other characters that come in, again, you're locked into pre-existing looks that have been established in the other Star Treks. So really, when we came to Section, it's like we've never tapped into this before. So they trusted Ryan enough and I to play and to push the envelope and the boundaries. And I feel we accomplished that.
Yes, I noticed that. I mean, as being a big Star Trek fan myself, it felt much more elaborate, like the hair and the makeup and even the costuming to some extent. And you mentioned Rachel. Yes, she is a conservative Starfleet officer, but then we have the bar scene, the opening scene there, and she was almost unrecognized. I had to do a double take when she was out of that scene. I was like, wait. So that was amazing. That was an amazing look. Did not expect to see Starfleet in such a look.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like mission accomplished, because when we were told that these guys are all undercover, I'm like, well, it's like, well, the guys are the guys, but let's have fun with the ladies undercover. you know Especially someone like the Rachel Garrett character, because it's like we can have two extremes, and I felt like both of them worked.
They did. It was when, yeah, like I said, when I saw her out of in her regular costuming, I was like, wow, that was pretty amazing. Um, let's talk about the club scene for a second. There was an alien in that scene that calls back to the original series, season 3, Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. And it was the half black, half white alien. Now, was that in the script, or did you guys want to harken back to the original series, or what was that?
Well, that was prosthetic. So that was a combination between Ryan and the prosthetic department. I didn't do that makeup, but I believe he was scripted. But I'll let Ryan take this one because he designed the hair.
Our Sharon, right? The Sharon character. He was He was scripted. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was scripted as a Sharon, which I thought was amazing because I was like, finally we get to see this character because I am a bit of a tiny Star Trek nerd, not a major one, but just a tiny one. And that was one that I always wanted to bring in, even from season one of Discovery. And finally, we got the chance to do it now. And yeah, that was really fun to work with. Uh, the prosthetics team with that one, with Glenn Hetrix. And um, the difference, what we did for this character is we decided to, you know, each side of him will be fully black and the other side be fully white, including the hair. Whereas I think in the original series, it was just their face painted and they had like brown hair or something like that.
Yeah, it's funny because in the original series, there was only two of those aliens left. So when he came on the screen, I was like, oh, I almost wanted to know more about him. He was only in a few scenes. I liked his character, though. He was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Philippa Georgiou had this elaborate metal veil. And when I was watching the scene, I was like, oh, I was thinking that that was probably hair. But then at one point, she clicks something and the face reveals. So you had to work pretty closely with the VFX team on that, right? Because that was practical. And then there was a VFX element.
1000%. It was, I guess, all three departments. Really, on the day, it was costumes and myself, hair. Um, and the original design for that was supposed to be kind of like she would wear it like glasses, so it was supposed to hook behind her ears, but it didn't quite work out. So last minute, we had to figure out a way to kind of suspend this cage from her head. Um, so it was very carefully pinned on the top of her hair, and and kind of slid in place. And the VFX was, she touches it, and then I would have to run in, take it off, and run back in, put it on, that type of a thing. But yeah, it was challenging but fun at the same time.
Shauna, were you worried about your hairstyle for that particular scene when he had to get it on there?
For the makeup?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, for the makeup.
Okay. That's okay. I mean, there was a moment of with the on and off during set that I was, worried about it. But I will say Ryan, I think, saved all three of our departments. And carefully, when he says it was suspended and pinned into the hair, it was like everybody, they had the action and we were all kind of just like please stay type of situation. So but nothing damaging on the face, but it was a bit of a thing that I don't think was any one of us anticipated. But I have to say Ryan carried the load on that one for sure.
It was quite impressive. It was really, really, really neat. I can imagine, like, yeah, just being on set and saying, nobody breathe, nobody move, like it's gotta stay.
Yeah, that's what
Well, also Michelle Yeoh, I must say, because that could not have been comfortable, but she was a trooper.
How much did it weigh?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm not sure. It wasn't that it was heavy, but there was a pressure point on kind of like the middle top of her head. It's where we kind of had to anchor it from. It probably, I don't even know. I couldn't even guess. It could have been half of a pound.
So, can you talk a little bit about the challenges in creating the looks that work seamlessly for Emperor Giorgio, pardon me, because at the beginning she's a young woman, and then she transitions, and we see her in later in her life, and I'm just curious about how those transitions, how you kind of workshop those transitions and how you workshop the flashbacks versus the flash forwards with the hair and makeup continuity.
Well, that was actually one of my favorite looks of the movie, to see the young Giorgio broken down, seeing what was required and what she had to go through to become the emperor, which on Discovery, we actually never tapped into this. We just already knew her as the emperor. So it was actually interesting for us working, knowing that, okay, this is how it happened. But after reading the script, we wanted to kind of, show how hard she had to work, the trials, the tribulations she went through to get to that position, and then ultimately what the task was to get past that. So we definitely wanted to reflect that in the visual. And again, I think we accomplished it, but really broken down and just, what someone would have to go through to get a position like that. And then knowing where she started and how she started to who we know Giorgio is now.
Yeah, that's true. Just to play on that, like definitely we had to those moments of showing the blood, sweat, and tears through her hair and makeup, as well as the actual blood, sweat, and tears. And then also, we go from that to seeing her also in the Terran universe as the Emperor, which we established, on Disco. So that was also fun to go back to do that, and then seeing her as the new versions of her. Um, even her mission look on this was pretty a fun look to create.
Shauna, to your point, I had to think back on that because I was like, have we ever explored where Giorgio came from? And I just assumed that because she was the emperor, she was born into kind of the ruling family or the ruling party. And it was really interesting and satisfying to kind of see her backstory because you're right, the fans have never ever seen that before.
Absolutely. And that's where I kind of went with it. I just thought it was like rewarded to her or she inherited it some way. So to kind of read that and realize what she had to go through, I just thought it was really a smart move on the writers to put that in there to kind of tie that all in.
Definitely, for sure. Excuse me. How closely do you collaborate with the costume and the art department in general to kind of have a cohesive aesthetic for the film? Because you guys are all under the umbrella of the art department.
I mean, a lot more with costumes than the art department, but we do see the renderings at the art department, like the drawings and the colorings of the set. And I think that's the first stage. And then the costumes kind of keep that in mind and then design their looks, and we see renderings from them. And then after that, that gives us the inspiration to kind of figure it out. And then Ryan and I work closely together with costumes, and then we kind of all work together and tie it all in. But all of it, color wise and like practicality, is also something that goes into our designs. But we all come together to tie it in.
But I mean, I definitely do think that they help to set a tone as well. Even before costumes, when we do see these renderings, it does set a tone of the atmosphere and like, how's our work going to look in that space.
Probably one of the smartest things I've ever done for my career. It gave me all the tools that I needed to be able to jump into a new career.
Getting myself into a mindset, thinking like an editor, being around people that I can talk to on that level was really invaluable to me.
A lot of the things that I learned from that class, I still think about.
I loved the classroom. I loved the computer stations. We built a sense of community.
And it also instills a lot of confidence in you to take that and go out into the world.
After I took the class, I felt very prepared to take the next step.
I owe Manhattan Workshop the career that I have right now. Things have been going great, and I really have the Manhattan Workshop to thank for that.
Now, poking around on your IMDb pages, it looks like you two have been working together for a long time. You share a Gemini Award together in 2008, I believe. I think that's what I wrote down, 2008. Can you talk about your working relationship? How did you guys kind of start this working relationship?
We were actually friends before we got into film, so that's like 25 years plus now. Ryan was at the salon and I was an esthetician before I became a makeup artist. So we actually were friends before that. And actually at some point, Ryan did my hair. He was like he's the top stylist in Toronto. So, everybody wanted to get in on the top stylist. And then from that, we developed a great friendship. And then it just kind of happened organically that we both ended up in film. And then, we've just worked together on and off, not every project, but, as much as we can. And then it's transpired to like a 25-year plus friendship and working relationship.
Yeah, exactly. I can't say it better than what you just said. That's so true.
That's amazing. I was doing a little sleuthing and I was like, wow, they've been, and I look, you guys didn't work on everything together, but you've had this long relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's great that you've had this rewarding career and friendship at the same time. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, now
Well,
we pays off. It actually gets reflected into the work because it's just an easy teamwork and partnership. We don't even think about it, and we kind of are on the same. We're definitely on the same page when it comes to a lot of things, and even when we have different visions, it's something that we can talk through, or he inspires me in a different way, and we figure it out. But it's just a great working relationship. So yeah, try to do it as much as possible.
Yeah. You know, you gotta work with your friends, man. That's the only way to keep yourself sane.
it makes it a lot easier when you can work with your friends for sure, because you can be very honest with them and not get in trouble.
Yeah.
Were there any designs or characters that you were particularly proud of? And if so, why was that? Like, what was your shining moment on Section 31?
I think for me, it's that last look of Giorgio in that silver dress. It's an awe moment of, wow, we did this. Like the dress was incredible. And that was a collaboration with our costume designer in Balenciaga. And then because of that, Ryan took an elegant approach. And then for makeup, that helped me say, okay, I can do a little bit of a pop with the silver studs as eyeliner and matching the nails and stuff, but also not to go too far because the dress was kind of saying it all for us. So again, a great collaboration of just knowing what works. And then again, Michelle's input, but her last look is my favorite makeup design of the show for sure.
I mean, I do like both of her Baram looks, to be honest. Um, I don't know if I have a favorite from the two. I kind of leaning towards the last look as well, because that was also for me kind of like a surprise. Like we weren't expecting that look. Like I didn't have that wig um, made, so we kind of had to really rush and uh, throw something together, and in a short time. So I thought that that was really fun for us to be able to do that in such a short time, and it turned out really well. So that was good. But I kind of like both of her Brom looks. I think I'm really impressed with our work, I will say.
I'm impressed with your work as well. And Shauna, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I couldn't take my eyes off of those rhinestones that she had around her eyes. It was absolutely stunning. I was like, can I do that? Maybe. You
And
have to teach me how.
you know, because that's not every day. Michelle wears very simple makeup in life, but the beauty of Michelle is she's always ready to come and play. But I was like, hey, how do you feel about this? And at first she wasn't sure, but like when everything went on and we did it, she absolutely loved it. So again, it's like the beauty is she trusts us enough in production, trusts us enough to try what we think might work, and then let us push the envelope from there. And I'm glad it worked out. But yeah, that I loved it. It was my favorite.
So, what was the most difficult? Maybe it's the same one. What was the most difficult look, or the most difficult style that you had to do on the show?
Well, I mean, for me, it was probably Michelle's first Baram look, because it was quite intricate, that updo, um, and because she had to fight with that hairstyle. So, just making sure that it was secure on her head and always stayed the same was a challenge. And
And I
also,
assume it was a wig, right, Ryan? It had to be a wig.
oh yeah, every single hairstyle for Michelle was a wig. Even the ponytail, that was a wig, and then the last look was a wig, obviously. So yeah, that was a wig, and also to keep in mind, anything with action, we also had to create a double for it for her stunt doubles.
I'm going to double up with Ryan on that and say I think that first one was the most challenging because of the fighting. That last look, it's static. She's just standing there. She looks great. But that first one, it's like she has to look great. We did custom lashes. She had the nails as well too. That they were press ons. So again, she's fighting. We got to make sure they stay on. So sweating in the fights because again, she does a lot of her own stunts. So I think designing that look again with the practicality element was the most challenging, I think, for the show.
That must have been kind of stressful during those scenes. How long did it take to shoot that particular scene?
Ooh, that was a
So
few days,
days,
right? Yeah.
a few. So, you know, that's the other thing. You're doing pieces and the fight in segments. So it's like match to where you ended off. Um, and then different things like Ryan mentioned the stunt. It's like for the stunt nails, we did a little bit of a shorter nail for safety, you know, because just in case, because they could be weapons when she's throwing those punches. And Michelle had the full length, but again, she's such a pro that, you know, that worked out. And so is the stunt, but just in case, because the stunts sometimes go a little bit harder, we just did things for safety. But yeah, it was again matching to where you left off when you break up fight sequences like that. So that was part of the challenge as well.
Yeah, and I assume the day-to-day continuity too, because you have your talent going home, resting hopefully, but they might come in and they might look a little bit different than they did yesterday, maybe a little bit puffy, maybe a little bit tired.
That's, you know, that's one of the challenges and part of the reward at the end of the day when it all works out.
So I have one more question for you. And my last question is, what is your guilty pleasure film or television show? It can be something that you watch on repeat. It can be something that, if it's on television or you see it, you know, on a list, you'll always watch it. Guilty pleasure, anything. What is it?
I go
Well,
between two.
okay. Let's hear yours.
It's Top Chef and Diners, Drive-In Dives because I'm a foodie. And I just, anytime it's on, I just watch it. I love it. Yeah.
Wow. I'm the opposite. I'm gonna say it's definitely always during Halloween, and I have to watch The Exorcist.
Yeah, I can see it. You have those standbys, the movies that go with different holidays for sure.
Mhm.
And to your point, Shauna, diners, drive-ins, and dives always makes me hungry. I can never watch it on an empty stomach because I'm gonna snack.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just fun to see and like, you know, I just again I love food and sometimes I get ideas and sometimes it's like, oh, an interesting place. If I travel there, now I know. So win-win.
Yeah. And Ryan, if you don't mind me asking, what's your favorite scene in The Exorcist?
You know, I think it's kind of like the beginning scenes, like maybe like the whole of the opening sequence. You know, when he's kind of like in the Middle East there. You know, like to me, though, that's the scarier parts than like the later parts of the movie.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for your time and your talent and bringing this forth into the world. I really appreciate everything that you guys shared with us today. And that's it for this week. You can check us out on filmmakeru.com or follow us on Instagram at filmmaker_you. I'm Jamie Hitchings, and thanks for watching.